Well, hello everyone, and welcome to an episode of Harebrained Games. This time we're doing a review of a title that just came out recently called Discover Lands Unknown, a game of exploration and survival for 1 to 4 players by Kore Konitsuka, who's had quite a legacy of different games in over many, many years. It is a different game because everybody's box is different. It comes with a couple different tiles, sets in each box, and there are, I think, 5 total. The cards you get, the characters you can play, the story differs based on the box contents itself. This is new. I'm not sure what they call it, or they had a semi-clever name for it. But ultimately, it's a game of exploration. It is a game where you take on, as an explorer, some vast unknown landscape formed with tiles, and it's your job to traverse the wasteland or one of the other 4 tile sets and actually find your way to victory conditions that are mapped out for you as you go. It's very much a reveal secrets as you go kind of game, and so it's going to be a little interesting for me to show you without giving away some details you might not want to see. So I totally understand if at this point, if you want to experience this on your own, you can go to my final comments if you want to know what I think of it in summary. But if you do not mind maybe getting a little bit of a preview of gameplay, then stay tuned and we'll carry on with that. One of the first scenarios in my particular box, which is the desert terrain desert terrain scenario. You'll find different piles of different cards. For example, this is the story cards. I won't cover that over, but this is sort of the cards you follow along in order to reveal what you need to do to continue with the story. You go until you die, so as long as you don't die, you will come to the end of the story. Nevertheless, I do suspect that if you're anything mortal like me, you will die a lot. Each player is given one of these dials, which is interesting. You have 3 different places for damage. If you ever take 4 damage, or you have an accumulation of 4 damage, you lose. You're dead. Goodbye. See ya. And this is sort of an action point counter thing there, that you have 12, they call it stamina. Basically, you spend stamina to do any number of actions. You can roll over stamina up to a certain level each turn. But yeah, it's damage and stamina. Everybody gets a card, and I will reveal this, so spoiler alert. For example, I took Richard Heon. He's a pharmacist in the desert for reasons we don't understand. But he has an ability to be able to help heal damage, which I've always been fond of. And then plans, as you collect resources, you can turn in these plans to actually get the items that you're planning for, which will help you in different various situations. All of this is the uncharted tiles. You start here, and it's up to you to explore this area. There's different things that get revealed. The things that get revealed can show up in these cards. None of these are randomized. Well, actually, these are randomized, but for the most part, it's pretty deterministic. Like, you find your item. If you gain an item, you're going to get it from this pile here. These are events that happen over time. You do your actions, and then there's a night phase, and in that night phase, the game kind of attacks you back, so to speak, or punishes you greatly for, I guess, sleeping. But all of these play a part over time. It's all progresses on as it kind of tells the story as you go. Yeah. And then we have, of course, the chits. As you discover things, tiles, as you flip over, for example, you'll flip over a tile and you'll see different symbols, and you'll put tokens that map those symbols, and you'll be able to go over and explore those. Monster tokens, you'll have combat. And so you'll be taking on monsters, you'll be looking for water, you'll be looking for food, you'll be doing things basically any survivalist would do. And in fact, action-wise, you have this handy-dandy reference card, which gives you the many, many actions you can do. It looks overwhelming, but it's really not. These are really kind of atomic, discrete actions that make sense and are logical as you go along. Hey, I'm thirsty. Maybe I should drink water. And that's it for the components, so we'll get on to the dice, the combat dice, which is a very simplified combat model, but interesting nonetheless enough. Anyway, so let's get on to an example of gameplay with the caveat that there is a potential spoiler propensity, so avoid that section if you do not want to know any more about the story. Alright, let's begin. I'm doing a top-down view because it A, shows the whole map, B, we're not doing a full playthrough with a lot of detail because I'm trying to be as non-spoilery as possible while still showing you the game. So, we have 12 stamina points. 12 stamina points. So on our turn, this is what we get to do. We start with the day phase. I'm playing a solo game with my purple guy. So the first thing we're going to do is use our actions. Now we can do all kinds of things. We can move and gather, which is basically move and optional gather if there's nothing there. We can, well, let's just do other things. You can actually see the list here. Looking very carefully, you can see that we can move, we can recover if we are able to, that's healing up. We can restart our fire. There's a fireplace that we start with. It's a little tiny for you to see. We can scout, which means we can turn over one of these large tiles. We can trade with other players, not going to have to worry about that. Loot dead players, not going to worry about that. Investigate means certain areas on the map are going to have a number, and we will investigate those. Gather means we will be able to grab a resource in an area we're already in. Cook meat, because if you don't cook meat, then it has the potential to, well, you can't even use it for food. And so you need to cook the meat, which means you need to get to a fire and then cook the meat, and then you can use it. Or card actions, which we'll find out a little bit later. First off, we start with Richard Hyan. At the start of the game, he gains 1 medicine. 1 medicine. And here he is. We might end up using that. Here is the medicine. Here's the card. Here's a special ability. You can spend an action to heal a combat damage, which is pretty important because combat damage is the most difficult to heal. We also start off with a water, and we start off with our tasty shish kebabs because we're in the desert and apparently shish kebab is high on the menu. So let's begin. Cry for Help, Scenario 1, Stage 1, April 1972. You find an old journal bound in cracking leather. Someone was here before you, making their own notes on the surrounding terrain and wondering how to get home. The journal is still more or less intact. It can't have been lying here exposed to the elements for very long. The last entry sparks your interest. Tomorrow I head toward the plume of smoke on the horizon. Hopefully there is a sign of civilization and will lead me home. After survivor investigates landmark number 1, advance to stage 2. So once I investigate a landmark, I, the solo player, will be going to step 2. So we begin. Now, unlike most people, I don't like dials very much at all when it comes to like actions that take a bunch of, that you have to do a lot of. Don't mind it for damage, but so instead of keeping and doing this, I'm just going to show you pictorially by using one of my favorite mnemonics. Kidding. Chocolate chips and non-chocolate chocolate chips. So we have 12, and I'm just going to show you how it goes. So we're going to explore. First off, we're going to do 1, then we're going to move 1 space. Why did we move here? Because it only costs 1. In these terrain tiles, it costs 2 movement points. So we spent 1. Haha. Now we're going to scout. Scout is basically just flipping this sucker over so that we can see what's on the other side. Look at that. Well, that looks pretty sparse. So that's 2. And we need to put some sort of animal. And we're going to take a random animal token here that I put in here. Don't know which one. And we're going to set it here. It's up to decide whether we want to contend with that or not. Then we're going to go 3, 4, 5. Ooh, chocolate. And what the heck? 6. Haha. Because we went in here, we're going to have to fight whatever that is. So we flip it over. Oh, we don't flip it over. Aw, I thought that was a monster. Silly me. I was wrong. And we get this. This is meat. Meat. I love it. I guess it didn't take much effort to get ourselves some meat, did it? Now that's not usable until we get to a campfire. And once we get to a campfire, then we're going to be able to do the cook action as one of our stamina points, and that will help us turn that into meat, which we then can consume to heal or use for any of these abilities here. All right, so let's keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to scout here. So 7, but let's see what's over here. 7. Ooh, there's something. So we spent our 7th to explore. 8. Oh wait, we got to fill that out. So there's some sort of rocky thing there. So we're gonna put that there, and then there's something here that gives us a little bit of an adventure using card 20. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, 7. Yeah. Okay. Then our 8th action is going to be here, and our 9th action is going to go here, which is 2. That's our 9th and 10th, because that costs 2 instead of 3. And then our 11th action is going to be to investigate. So what are we going to do? We're going to find card 20. All right, what does card 20 say? Let us read it, children. All right. Gigantic statue. Well, sure enough, that's a gigantic statue. Okay, all that remains of this statue are its feet, a nearby head, and an inscription written in hieroglyphs. Even the feet are bigger than you. Roll a die. On a roll of 1 to 6, resolve exploration card 21. On 7 to 12, resolve exploration card 23. All right, well, we're going to card 21. We didn't get 23. I assume that lower numbers are bad, so maybe this will be a not so happy experience for our intrepid adventurer. Burial mask, maybe not. At the statue's feet, you find a gold mask of a young woman with a slender beard. An Egyptian king. Wow, no effect. But it's treasure. And hey, everybody likes treasure. So I'm going to leave that treasure there. Why the heck not? Or place it over here. Alright, so we have used 11 of our 12 stamina. That is enough. I am not going to use my last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, 11. Okay. So that ends my turn. If there were other players, they would then begin to use their turns as well to go explore the map. Now we go to the night phase, which involves drawing one of these and doing its actions. Hunger. Each survivor either spends 1 food or suffers 1 food type damage. Well, I'm going to use my food, clearly. I do not want damage. There's not a lot. Damage is not good. Each survivor gains 7 stamina. Now, I had to go down to 1 because I used all 11 of my stamina. I add 7 stamina, which puts me back at 8 for the next turn. Each survivor not at a fire draws a threat card. Alright. I need to draw a threat card. Wish me luck. Lovely. There's some lovely feels down here. Alright. Drawn to water. Move the monster token nearest a water source to that water source. If there are no water sources on the map, move the monster token nearest you 3 spaces. Alright. I'm safe because we don't yet have a monster. And that ends the night phase. And that is a same... Oh! To the adventurer go the spoils. That's the other thing I love about using these, is that A, helps me track a little bit better, and B, it's tasty. Alright, well that's enough gameplay to give you at least an idea of what kind of things you can do. I don't want to spoil any more of it, but this is basically the general gist of the game. Do I like it? Well, let's get into my final thoughts and we'll see. Okay. Final thoughts on Discover Lands Unknown. As always, let's go over the cons first so we can keep positive at the end by going through the pros. It is not the most replayable game. It is narrative story driven, which means that it either needs a whole wealth of a font of content or else it needs to be immersive for a while. If you are driven by the story of this game, then it will last a bit and then it will probably be sufficient for you to have played it a few times. The story is, I won't call it generic, I'll just say that it's well traveled. It's by no means just cookie cutter, but at the same time, it's definitely not as compelling as some other storylines I've seen in games this year that all feature rich narrative content. It's kind of like Legends of Andor, that series of 3 games, and other story games, in that it feeds on revealing information over time the first time you play through it, which is exciting, and you won't be able to replicate that, but that's okay. But unlike Gloomhaven or Legends of Andor, there's just not sufficient content with which to newly entertain you constantly for a long, long time. The game is not that terribly expensive. It was in the $30 some odd range, and so I felt I got the value out of it. But lesson warned, if you have, if you need more content or you want something that's going to be around for a while and not just like pull you in for a while and then over time not be as thrilling. I mean, if you are up for the challenge, I mean, it still has challenge. Even if you know all the things that are going to happen, you can still play for the sake of the challenge and surviving and not dying and stuff like that. But otherwise, that's one of the things that might not be on the high point. FOMO, kind of fear of missing out, folks are not going to be real thrilled that everyone is different, and they're going to feel like, gee, did I get one of the duds or did I get one of the awesome ones? I bought the Firecracker pack and 4 of them are duds, the rest are great. Do I end up with a dud? Kind of thing like that. I don't think that's going to be it. I think the differentiation of the story and stuff is so subtle that I don't even know really why they needed to do that. They could have just said, hey, here's 3 story packs, but maybe it is because they're so the same. They wanted to try it. Great. You tried the grab bag kind of approach, and that's not necessarily thrilling to me, but it's not a showstopper either. I mean, there's still a difference. It's just subtle. But it's going to make collectors and finishers annoyed, because honestly, even the least consequential and least visible puzzle piece will become a point of fixation by nature of it being absent. And that's the way some people look at it. The other nitpick is the dials. I'm not a big fan of using dials for things that constantly have to be updated. Things like I took damage, those things they're periodic and happenstance enough, but things like, I'm constantly like, okay, I move this, mostly because I tend to forget. I'm in the middle of trying to do my turn, and I have X actions, especially I have like 12 actions, and so I'm using them. Did I use that 2 or 3? Go back to the dial, go to the board, go back to the dial. That's why chocolate chips to the rescue. But that's really nitpicky. That's King of Tokyo would be almost the same thing, except your turn is over in like 5 seconds. Whereas this tends to be one where you're taking some time and moving along and taking care of things that happen over the course of time. So it's more elongated of a turn, and so that whatever. That's it for the cons. For the pros, it's a pleasant game. It really is, despite the harsh theme of being lost and abandoned and amnesiac. It's simple, it's well constructed, it's a streamlined little adventure. It feels like a scratch lotto ticket the first time you play, where you're like scratching off pieces and tiles and going, okay, what's on this tile? Flip it over, put in stuff. Oh, let's go see what that is. That a monster? Is that wood? Oh, that's a number. What story about that happens there? That sense of discovery, that kind of Willy Wonka, is this the golden ticket, is fully present and accounted for the first times you play it. There's enough replayability to play through a few times, like I said, that I felt like I got my money's worth. It's not totally devoid of replayability. Combat, simple as it is, does the job. I love fully fleshed out combat. I think it's great, but in this case, they're trying to keep the story moving and keep things going at a nice clip. So I think it does the job. It's not an awesome, pro feature, but it's also not a detrimental con as a feature either. Art and components, they range from serviceable to above average. Do the job. And it's challenging enough. You die enough, it's challenging enough. So final thoughts. This is the closest game to one that I really enjoyed that got almost no fanfare, called Escape from 100 Million BC. This is the closest thing to it I think I've yet seen, and it has easier setup and doesn't take quite as long. But both of those kind of have a general meandering about on an uncharted map with situational adaptation. It's not like Robinson Crusoe, which is a gut-wrenching and exhausting, in an awesome way, kind of game of leveraging every resource you have and just clamoring for every possible like thing to keep you going and stuff. It's not nearly like that. It's much more almost happy-go-lucky compared to it, even though it's not. You do die a lot in both games. Haven't played Seventh Continent, so I can't compare that to it. It's lighter fare adventure game that won't tax the brain, but especially your first playthrough. I thought it was clever and enjoyable, and I had a good time going, ooh, what's this card mean? Ooh, what's this mean? Reveal, reveal. So it basically just lets you sit right back and you'll hear a tale. Yeah. So I recommend it for folks, particularly who want to grow beyond, say, department store family gaming to something meatier but still approachable. And on that regard, I'd give it probably about a 7, I would guess, on a 1 to 10 range. It does the job if you find it at a relatively good price. I think, personally, it was more than entertaining enough to justify the cost. Nothing show-stopping. It's not going to be Game of the Year anytime soon, but there you go. So anyway, that's it for now, and we'll see you again on Harebrained Games.